Come on in. Hey, Val. Good morning to you. Come on in. Come on in. C. Carpenter. Good morning. My beautiful Destiny 18. Good morning, Valerie. Good morning over there as well. Good morning. Good morning to everyone. Good morning to everyone. Hey, Joy. Miss Joy Love. Good morning to you. Sohana. Good morning to you, dear. Good to see you. Good to see you. Rufus, good morning. Narissa, good morning. Come on in, family. Come on in the building. Come on in the building. Come on in the building. Al McLean 3, good morning to you. Nay, good morning. Tara, good morning. Good morning to everyone. Good morning. Getting going on this Monday. I try to call this, I'm going to name this day Recovery Monday. Oh, man. Long weekend. But we're here. We're here continuing what God has told us to do. Let's get moving Monday. I know that, Sohana. I like that too. Let's get moving. Let's get moving Monday. Kelly, we up. It's Monday. We up. I like it. We are up. This bottle don't want to open. We are up. We are. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. About 3.5 minutes in, we're about to get going. We're about to get going. Let's go ahead and pray. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time. Thank you for another opportunity to declare that you are God, that you're good. You get the glory, you get the honor. We celebrate you. We bless you. We give you praise. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys. Listen, this is the third week. We are coming to the last week in the close of what we're talking about in this particular series of Morning Momentum. For those of you who are new to this platform, just breezing through, this is a platform we call Morning Momentum. We get momentum for our day, for our week, for our life. This is where we gain. This is where we find. This is where we maintain momentum. And so thank you. Thank you all for joining us today. We've been talking about this month from the subject of self-control. We've been talking about self-control. Hey, Anthea, we've been talking about self-control this month. You may not be able to control the world around you, but you can learn to control the world within you. I like that. I like that. You may not be able to control the world around you, but we are learning that we have and we can gain the tools to control the world within us, the world that is us, right? And we are gaining tools to be better stewards of us. Hey, Vala, be better stewards of us, putting ourselves in the right places, in the right positions, reacting and moving in the right manner. That's what we can control. Hey, Victoria, thank you all for the tags. Hey, Reagan, thank you all for sharing. Thank you all for tagging. And so let's get in it. This is what I want to talk about today. I think it's going to indirectly affect the direct result of self-control. I believe it's going to indirectly. So when you hear kind of the subject, it may feel like it's another subject matter, but it's not. It is moving us toward greater self-control. Okay, so let's go get our daily vitamins. We've been building this foundation on this proverb that says this in the Message Bible. It says, "A person without self-control, a person without self-control." Let me get that out. Notifications off for you guys. A person without self-control is like a house with its doors and windows knocked out. In the Amplified Version, it says, like a city that is broken down and without walls, leaving it unprotected, is a man who has no self-control over his spirit and sets himself up for trouble. Galatians 5:22 says, but the Spirit produces love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, humility, and self-control. The Spirit produces it. In other words, it's in us. It is something that God is looking for us to produce and to display. And it is vitally important as it relates to walking in the correct manner before Him. All right. So the Bible says there is no law against such things as these. In other words, if these are in activation, you don't need a law. You don't need laws. If you're operating in love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, humility, and self-control, you can pretty much govern yourselves, because you're going to govern yourself accordingly to the Spirit and the heart of God. So you don't need a law to hold you. That those things are the laws that hold you. That's what the Bible says. There is no law against such things as these. Man, I hope we grab that. So we're talking about self-control. It is the ability to manage your behavior, your emotions, your impulses. It is the ability to manage your behavior, your emotions, and your impulses. Watch this. To align, not with the actions that you just encounter, not with the situation that you've encountered. It is to do this to align you with your personal goals and values. Some of us have goals, have values, have things we want to set out to do, but because we can't control our emotions, our behavior, and our impulses, it misaligns us. We get out of alignment. So our self-control keeps us in alignment to our personal goals and our personal values, essentially overriding immediate desires for long-term benefits. That's what it does, okay? Self-control is the ability to regulate and alter your responses in order to avoid undesirable behaviors and increase desirable ones. That's what we are trying to do. That's what we are learning to do. That's what this teaching has been all about. And so self-control, we've been talking about this, the ability to put on the brakes. And Thea says self-control keeps us aligned. That's right. Yeah, it keeps us aligned. And a lot of times you don't even know that you're drifting because you're so emotional about a thing. You are so bent out of shape. You are so vengeful. It can be resentful. You're hardened. You're hurt. You're wounded. You're frustrated. And so you become very impulsive. You become very emotional. And your behavior starts to veer. And you'll start acting in a way that you don't even recognize yourself. And your values are out the window because of how you feel. I know I normally don't do this, but I don't care. I'm going to do this time. I know I normally don't say stuff like that, but they made me angry. I know I normally don't run off or jump off like that, but this is a different situation. And then we say stuff like this. Have you ever said this? I'll just ask for forgiveness later. I'm going to do it, but I'll just ask for God forgive me after I do it. Oh, that is a premeditated out of control, impulsive decision. That is reckless. Can I just say that? That is being led by your emotions with no accountability and with no moral breaks on you. All right. So this is what we don't want to become. Alexis Cole, good morning. Misty T, good morning. Lady Long, good morning. Shauna Hinton, good morning. To y'all who's joined. Donnie Ray Cubberson, good morning. Blessings on all y'all. Keisha Reed Davis, good morning. Gigi, good morning. Who did I miss who joined me? Tony, good morning. And so let's go. Today I want to talk about two concepts versus each other that we got to make sure we understand. I want to talk about being reflective versus being deflective. Somebody put that in the chat. Reflective versus deflective. Apostle, good morning. McIver. Reflective versus deflective. We're talking about self-control, but we're gonna cut through on this because I believe this is going to help us render a better result of self-control. Understanding the differences between being a person who displays behaviors that is reflective or a person that displays behaviors that is deflective, right? Good morning, Tamika Robinson. Reflective versus deflective, right? I said it one more time. Reflective versus deflective, all right? So I want to deal with that because reflective behaviors involve thoughtful self-examination, taking responsibility for one's actions, behaviors, and processing emotions, right? Not externally, but internally. When I'm reflective, right, I am real with myself, even if I am not at the place where I want to be, even if I've done some things I'm not proud of. I take responsibility for me to work on me. I am reflective of what I said, what I did, how I acted. I kind of sit back, even if it's after the fact, and I look at the situation through my lens and through the lens of my emotions and feelings and have real conversations and talks with myself. Yeah. When I am a reflective person, I don't mind taking the responsibility, owning my own mess. I'm able to say, you know what, I was wrong for that. I shouldn't have said that. Even whether I say it to the person or whether I can first say it to myself. Why did you say that? Why did you do that? That was too much, right? Let's do better. How can we could have handled that better? Reflective behavior is when you can take responsibility, you can process emotions, often leading to personal growth. People who have the courage to do that, it leads to personal growth. In contrast, deflective behaviors involves avoiding, denying, turning conversations away from oneself, or evading accountability. Nothing's ever your fault. You was always prompted. You were pushed to do it. If somebody hadn't said that and done that, you wouldn't have done what you did. Good morning to you, Pastor Vigabo, Auntie. Reflective, watch this, reflective acts absorb and analyze, right? When I'm reflective in my behavior, I absorb, I take in what happened and I analyze it. But when I'm deflective, I ignore or I project. Yeah. I ignore my tone. I ignore how I'm saying it. I ignore what I'm saying and I project. I project on others. I put the blame somewhere else. And here's the difference. Key differences of the two is this. Reflective behavior thinks carefully about situations, admits faults, and focuses on fixing real problems. In other words, they don't just focus on the look, how you looked at me, how you said, the way you said that, whatever. They focus on the real problem. They can really sit back and analyze how it happened, what happened, and get to the real issues and not deflect, right? It involves looking inwardly and fostering self-awareness and personal maturity, okay? So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the key differences of reflective and deflective. Deflective behavior, it changes the direction of a conversation. Whenever something is going toward you, you are good at changing the conversation or dealing with this. Like somebody comes to you and say, hey, I really didn't like when you said that or did that. Well, 2 months ago, I didn't like when you said and did to me. Even if it's the truth, that moment in that conversation was not about what somebody did 3 months ago. It was about what you did to them yesterday. And if you can't sit in the fact that they brought it to you, and you need to listen to what it is that their experience is, and you just always deflect. Thank you. You always deflect on towards away from you or to somebody else. Then you're operating in a deflective manner, right? I say this all the time, not only in my own relationship, but while I'm counseling others. If a situation was not important enough for you to bring it up in the moment or close to it happen, then it's not important for you to bring it up when you feel like you're being attacked. Uh-oh, I don't want to lose nobody. Come here. If you can hold on to it for 4 months without saying anything, why do you feel like you need to say something now? You want to know why? Because it is your ammunition to fight back and get things and people off of you. Because if it really hurts you, you need to have the courage to say when it hurts you and deal with it then, right? So it's not productive to just use it in your back pocket for when somebody comes at you for something that they didn't feel was the right way to go, and then you pull it up. Then you pull out the bag from 6 months ago. You let somebody know how wrong they are, so don't be coming at you about what you do, because I ain't saying nothing to you when you did this. That's a deflective behavior, and that does not lead to growth. It leads to hiding, right? Let's go. Let's keep going. Deflective changes directions of a conversation. It projects frustration onto others, and it avoids taking responsibility. And it is often an avoidance behavior, watch this, that prevents listening. So here you got same situation I just said, same example. You got somebody coming to you, pouring their heart about trying to get better in your relationship. Hey, this is what you said, this is what you did. It made me feel this way, and I want to talk about it. But instead of talking about it, instead of listening to what their feelings are, instead of listening to what they have to say, instead of absorbing and taking in how they feel, right? You avoid and prevent, you don't even want to hear what they got to say, because you pull up out your pocket, something in your back pocket, to get them to shut up. That's basically what you're doing. To get them to stop talking about you, to get them to reassess and redecide. You sure you want to bring that up about me? Because if you want to talk about attitude, we can have a talk about attitude. If you want to talk, I see it that a tad bit different, sir. I agree to disagree somewhat, and that's fine. You can. That's unfair fighting. And really, I don't. I mean, we can go there, but once you put your feeling out there like that, I have a right to disagree as well. That's a sign of deflection, because I think that hit a personal mode. Because reality is this: if a person does something to hurt you that you need to talk about, you need to talk about it. But if you felt like it wasn't worth talking about at the moment, then what in you caused you to have the boldness to say it now that you didn't have the boldness to say it then? You know what caused you to have the boldness to say it now? Deflecting and fighting for yourself. It's worth bringing it up when it means defending you. It should be worth bringing it up so that you can keep a healthy relationship. If a person doesn't know what they're doing If a person doesn't know what they're even doing to hurt you, how can they help you? How can they help the situation if you never bring it up? But when you bring it up, when a person is trying to share with you something that they want to talk about because they had the courage to deal with something that they are feeling like hurt them and bringing it to your attention, instead of talking about what they started the conversation with. Now, I didn't say you can't deal with what you're talking about, but the time of dealing with that is not the time of taking somebody's opportunity to share their feelings and their emotions. You've hijacked the conversation and you've made it about your feelings when it was their conversation. And I stand strong on that one. I stand strong on that one. You've made it turn. They came to you in love, they came to you in this, and you turned it to say you got the problem, not me. So if you're gonna talk about my problem, let's talk about your problem. That's a deflection all day. That's a deflection. That's a deflection. And so here's the reality. In summary, reflection involves growth, while deflection is primarily an avoidance mechanism. It is. In personal development, the choice between reflecting and deflecting often determines whether a person experiences long-term growth or remains stuck in repetitive cycles. Whenever you have the ability and you operate and function in deflection, you have mastered getting the attention off of what you do wrong. You've mastered it. You've mastered it. And so because you've mastered that, you are typically going to stay stuck in repetitive cycles because you never want to talk about what you need to talk about to grow. And so you would rather project and push people back than deal with real issues, right? So let's keep going. Reflection. I say it this way: reflection, I believe, is the path to growth. Reflection, right? Even in those moments where you have to hear what somebody else has to say, even if you don't agree with everything they're saying, there is so much power in reflecting on it. Especially if it's a person that you've been doing life with, a person that you respect, a person that you love, a person that you know love you. The reality is, whether you think it's true about you or not, that is their experience with you. So it's still a help. Even if you don't agree with everything they're saying or don't see it for yourself, it's a help to take in what you hear and reflect on it. And if you don't have the ability to do that, you have to ask yourself the question: am I operating in deflection? Do I just not want to hear anything wrong about me? Because especially if you're hearing it repetitively from different people, everybody don't have a problem with you. Everybody ain't hating on you. Everybody is not picking on you. Reflection is an intentional internal process where you look in the mirror to evaluate your actions and your thoughts honestly. Okay. That's what it is. The goal here is to build insight and take responsibility. But the key question is this: what can I learn from this situation? What can I learn? That's the goal of what we're talking about: self-control, self-reflection. Everything is self, which is leading us to self-awareness, right? And that is my goal for you. Even though you're not the blame, even though you may not carry all the weight for what's going on, even though you may not have initiated, even though you may not be the one that caused the elevation and the act, there's always room for you to reflect on your side, the role you played. Again, this series has tried me tremendously while I'm teaching. Just had a conversation, just had a situation like that where somebody's actions, right, was so out of pocket. And my response to their actions was what I felt in the moment I needed to say and do. But then after I said it and we had the conversation, I immediately had to go back in reflection to say, did I do everything I could to diffuse the situation and still remain who I am in spite of the heat in the moment? And in that reflection, I still found some things that I could have done better, even though I felt like I handled the situation calmly in the moment. There's always room for growth. And if you're not a reflective person, you are not looking for growth, you're looking for justification. And when you're a person that's looking for justification of your actions, you're going to be one to fight to remain the same. All right. IG, I apologize. I think I'm about to lose you. Didn't set up this phone charger. Didn't know I was that low, like I'm going low. So if I lose you, it's not on purpose. If I lose you, just come over to YouTube, B.A. Taylor 6, especially you're on IG because you don't like Facebook. So if you don't want to go Facebook, catch me on YouTube today. And we'll finish this conversation because I am on YouTube, B.A. Taylor _6, same handle, but on YouTube. I think that device is not going to last the whole teaching. And my apologies. I didn't even recognize it before I got started from it being on over the weekend. So catch us over here if I lose you, IG. All right. So deflective is when we change direction of the conversation. But I believe reflection is the path to growth. Watch this. If you're gonna be a reflective person, you got to be able to evaluate your actions and thoughts honestly. And the goal here is what? To build insight and take responsibility. That's the goal for you. That's the goal for this whole teaching for you, is to build insight and to take responsibility. Every encounter you have with people gives you insight about who you are. Even if that person is wrong, even if that person is out of control, even if that person is not acting in the right manner. Every encounter gives you insight and intel about you. How much you can take, how short your trigger is, how short your come off is, how your come off changes when you get into certain situations. How you come off in situations, how you how you respond when you get mad. How does your mood change? How does your words change? How does your tone change when you really feel offended? Do you get defensive when you hear certain trigger words? How do you deal with your triggers? How do you respond when you're triggered? What is your out mechanism when you're triggered? What is your plan of retreat or get out or time out? All those things are intel. All those things are insight. Watch this. And all of those things are our responsibility. It's not the other person's responsibility. to respond in a certain way, to deal with certain ways, to have a plan of action, to know your triggers, to know your responses, to know yourself when you start to bubble up and get your blood pressure starts to go, to know what you have the potential to do when things go to a certain place. That's not the other person's responsibility to control and handle and know. It's ours. So the goal here is to build insight and take responsibility. So the key question we got to ask if you're trying to be a reflective person, what can I learn from this situation? Not whose fault it was, not justification. They deserved every word I gave them. They deserved everything I said. They was wrong for that. I bet they won't do that again. No, 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 no. What can I learn from this? How can I learn how to still be true to who I am in situations like this if it happens again? Yeah. And what's the benefits of acting like that? It leads to greater emotional maturity. It leads to greater emotional bandwidth, emotional capacity, better decision making, and stronger trust-based relationships. There is nothing more trust building, if I can say it this way. There's nothing better at trust building in a relationship that you value and a relationship that you love. Is for somebody to come back after the situation and say, you know what? We talked the other day and I know, it didn't go well or how it went, or, we got through it at the end and we still got to a good place. But I wanted to come back and say, you know what? There were a few things that I said, and the way I said it, as I thought about it, I could have came another way. You talking about building trust with somebody? I'm talking about doing it in a way where you're not even pointing out things they could have did better. That's their responsibility. That's a real, I just hit something. Now, I ain't say lead with, you could have did some things better too. And you could have did something, but keep that out. Keep that on them. You're talking about building you and being responsible for you and bettering you. And what you'll find is when you make yourself that vulnerable and confident, when you're so confident that you can be wrong, but still be a good person, when you figure out in yourself that you can come back and make adjustments and it don't change the value of who you are as a person, when you get that in your head, you have the lens to grow. See, right now, people can't stand to hear something negative about themselves because it's a knock to their personality or a knock to their ego. No, it should. When you get to the place where it's not a knock to your ego, you can do grown stuff like that. And what it does is it brings vulnerability and grace from the other person. They wasn't even expected to do it. But I promise you, once you come in that manner, they can't help. If they're on a growth pattern themselves, they can't help to be vulnerable, but to be vulnerable back. I appreciate you saying that. You don't have to say that. I know we both was heated. Guess what? I said some stuff I shouldn't have said too. And it's going to build a stronger, trusted relationship. And sometimes we got to have the courage to lead with that kind of action. That's the benefit. Try this after having a hard conversation or hard critique, even on your job, even with people that's like, man, that was hard to hear. Go back home and just say, can I be like that? And is that kind of me? Where did that come from? That's the third time I've heard that this year. And you'll be amazed what happens when you learn how to self-reflect. Now, because deflection is this. The definition or the nickname, if I can give it one. Deflection is the ego's shield. Deflection is the ego's shield. Deflection is a psychological defense mechanism used to protect the ego from discomfort, shame, or accountability by pushing a threat away. Whatever you deem as a threat in any capacity, that's what deflection is. And the goal of deflection is to avoid a vulnerability and shift blame elsewhere. That's the goal. So the key question in this is, how do I avoid responsibility for this? What do I have to do or say to make sure it ain't my fault? If it ain't gonna work, some people feel that way. If this might get real sensitive and hard to hear. If you that person that when you heard me just say that, you do that, the first thing you think about when something goes wrong, whose fault is it? There's an argument. Whose fault is it? It wasn't my fault. Oh, you think this is my fault? If that's the first thing you think about, then the first thing you're concerned with is the blame. Not the growth, not the building, not the discovery, but who's to blame? And common signs of this is blaming others, changing the subject, using humor to dismiss serious topics. People do that. They use humor. Well, I'm just playing. No, you won't. Or they say little comments, sarcastic comments, to act like they joking. And here it is. And I just gave that example earlier out of me talking in the summary, not realizing that is actually a part of the clinical notes of my research. When they talk about, when I learned common signs of deflection. Here's the common signs of deflection: blaming others, changing the subject, using humor to dismiss serious topics. These are clinical common signs. Or responding with, I just said that earlier, responding with, what about the time you? And they call it whataboutisms. Real term, real clinical thing. What about the time you? I'm gonna sip on that. Whataboutisms. And here's the long-term cost of this: stagnation. You probably be a person that stays in the same place emotionally, psychologically. You feel what you feel about it. People can come in and go out your life. If they don't like it, they can go. You probably change friends a lot. You don't have long-lasting relationships that have withstood over time. You probably have associates that change when you shift. You find new friends to support your stagnant views because there's a lot of broken trust in relationships. Because when it comes to hard moments, you don't deal with hard things well. Because this kind of thinking prevents problem solving. And I don't care what kind of relationship or situationship you're in, there's going to come a problem that needs problem solving. And problem solving takes two people at the table. It can't just be on one person. Problem solving is when we come up with something based on two people's experiences that is respectfully taken into consideration. So how do we shift from deflection to reflection? It's going to take courage. It is going to take courage. Because you're moving from a defensive person to a more open, reflective mindset. So some of the ways we can do that is the first, it's a thing called practice the pause. What pause? When you feel defensive, racing heart, urge to argue. There's that 30-second rule or several deep breaths. Take a step back and create space for your reflective mind to engage. Man, that works. I can tell you that works. All right, don't get so worked up about it. Come on, calm down. You love them. You appreciate them. Let's listen to what they got to say. Let's not jump to conclusions, Bradley. Hear them out. Because in the middle of their sentence, you're getting angry and your blood is flowing and you want to respond because you heard something that was a trigger. One word they said, it triggered you and you want to jump in now. Take a deep breath. Pause. Then there's another tool called name the feeling. This normally happens after a situation or after a conversation where you have to go back and say, you know what? I got to acknowledge this internal triggers, this eternal trigger and name it. In other words, do I feel criticized? Do I feel ashamed? What am I feeling and why am I feeling that way? And where did that feeling stem from? Is it that person or is it something I've been feeling and they just stepped on it and it caused it to be inflamed again? It's when you can name the feeling. It's when you can troubleshoot the feeling. Because most times the feelings we feel in moments didn't just happen in the moment. The moment just triggered what we were already feeling long time before we got to that encounter. Here's another one that I think is great while you're in a conversation. Having the courage to use vulnerable language. What is vulnerable language? It's when we can replace stuff like, that's not true. I don't do that. That ain't me. You need to stop. Oh, you're doing too much. Ah, shoot. Replace that kind of language with something like this. Wow, that's hard for me to hear. I need to sit on that for a minute. Can you tell me more about why you think that way about me? That's vulnerable language. That's giving the other person permission to go deeper so that we can understand it before we defend against it. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. If you're that person, every time somebody come up and say something about you and you're like, that ain't true. I don't believe that. You just hating. I know you ain't like me no way. Or you just you don't want nobody, da, 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 da. You know, that then you never get the intel and the details and the clues that could help you be a better person. But when I have the courage to invite and engage vulnerable language, I learn deeper about how my behavior makes people feel. Wow. And the last tool I want to give you is really not, it's a tool, but it's really a characteristic as well. Stay focused. If you are on the receiving end of deflection, I'm talking from the other side now. Gently bring the conversation back to the original topic by saying, I hear you, but I would love to stay on the issue that we first talked about. I know that's so hard sometimes because people want to take it emotionally. People want to start talking about tone. People want to say, why you had to come at me like that? Why you had to come at me? I just got off work. Why you come to me like this? I just got in the house. You won't even let me sit down and take my shoes off. And you already flying off. That's a deflection. And even if the timing was wrong for them, let's still not get on the timing and have an argument for an hour about coming at them getting off work and about that. Let's say, hey, I felt the need to say this to you right now. I'm sorry if it wasn't the right time for you. You tell me when the best time to talk about this, because I'd rather not have a conversation about the timing. I'd rather have a conversation about what I want to talk about when you got home. So this is not a good time. I'll respect the fact it's not a good time for you. We'll park it. You tell me when it's the best time to talk, because I want our time talking to be about the real issue. Because if you can't do that, you'll find yourself being lured into their deflection mechanism. I want to end with this. I'm going to let you go. Reflection is the tool that leads to self-awareness. Self-awareness is one of the tools that develops more self-control. That's why I believe reflection is so important to self-control, because reflection leads to us becoming self-aware. And there are many benefits of becoming self-aware. Being self-aware is what you do when you're doing, being self-aware of what you do when you're doing it is the first step to making better decisions and resisting those that don't help you over long term. In other words, if I'm not even aware that I'm doing something when I'm doing it, I can't even change the impulse. I can't change the behavior. I can't change the emotional response if I'm not even aware that it's an emotional response, that it's an impulse that I'm acting on. If I'm not aware of that, how can I shift it? And this is so important because deflection blocks your ability to build self-awareness. Because deflection blocks your desire to even hear about anything wrong about you. So if my deflection is blocking my ability to build my self-awareness, it's going to keep me in the state of acting and reacting unconsciously. I'm not even conscious of what I'm doing. And if you are unconscious in what you do, you don't even know you're doing it. So how are you going to control what you don't even know? I think that's enough for us to think about. This session today kind of rubs some feathers. I got some people who may see it differently. That's fine. This is my platform. I'm giving what's on my heart, and you can eat the meal or you can leave it on the table. But I believe if you listen and take some stuff that what's going on here, and because what happens sometimes is what is being identified is actually functioning in people that have not yet identified it. And the fact that it's triggering something says sometimes it hits something that needs some attention. And I'm okay with that. And I think that's another opportunity for me to still stay focused, keep myself under control, and go forward with what I'm supposed to do. And that's help those who are ready to shift, ready to change, ready to be better, have real conversations, have hard conversations, and deal with real stuff that may be hurtful to hear, but benefits us all in the long run. And that's what we're gonna do. All right, that's your word for today. Hope you received it. Hope you're listening. Do me a favor. Try your best to be more reflective than deflective. Try your best to be more reflective. Internal. What can I do better? How can I control my mouth? How can I stay calm? How can I respond with love? How can I make sure that the other person sees my heart, even if they got to hear what I have to say? That's our job. We can do that. All right? Try to be more reflective rather than deflective, okay? And watch the results. Just turn for the better. I love you, all right? The fact that you're watching me, the fact that you're listening to me is a sign that God's not finished with you. He gave you a new day, and with this new day, he gave you new mercy. Do me a favor, take what he gave you, win what's in front of you. Winners win. That's who you are. So go be who you are Do what you do. We'll see you in the morning. Peace.